You don't even have to do layaway anymore. They got Klarna, you got Affirm, Afterpay. NFL insider Dan Graziano here to give us the goods right now. 3 days until the NFL draft in Green Bay. Questions still surrounding what the Giants will do with that third overall pick. They worked out 3 quarterbacks in Shedeur, Jalen Milroe, Tyler Shuck in recent days. What more can you tell us about the Giants' draft day plans?
Yeah, they worked the private workout led by head coach Brian Daboll for those 3 quarterbacks, and also Jackson Dart a couple of weeks earlier went through the same process. So those are the 4 guys to watch at quarterback for the Giants. Would they take Shedeur Sander at number 3? It feels unlikely based on everybody I talked to with 3 days to go before the draft. Can't rule anything out completely, but it seems like these workouts are more about what you do with your second-round pick if you're the Giants, or do you trade back up into the first to get a guy like Shedeur Sander if he slips a little bit. More likely they sit tight and take Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, whichever one Cleveland doesn't take, and then address quarterback with that second pick. They just came off of Daniel Jones, who they drafted in the first round and didn't turn out to be the guy. The Steelers at 21 are in a similar situation, coming off of the Kenny Pickett experience where they drafted him in the first round a couple of years ago, and that's part of the reason they're in the predicament they are now, still needing a quarterback. They could be a team to watch for Shedeur Sander at 21 if he gets there. They've done work on a lot of these quarterbacks. You see Louisville's Tyler Shuck here among them, but Pittsburgh also a possibility to maybe trade back. They already traded their second-round pick for DK Metcalf, so they may be looking to amass extra picks.
Okay, so the draft always gives us a bit of a surprise, sometimes a collection of them, whether it's teams wanting to draft into a position by trading away their draft picks, but also sometimes we see veteran players get drafted. Are you hearing anything about maybe some veteran players who might be on the move ahead of Thursday's first round?
Absolutely. The big one to watch is Kirk Cousins, Falcons quarterback, who's already been supplanted by Michael Penix Jr., who they took in the early first round last year after signing Cousins. Cousins has a no-trade clause. So if the Falcons want to trade him, they need his approval. So watch to see what happens after the first and possibly second round of the draft. Cousins is not going to want to go to a team and be in the situation he was in last year where after he shows up, they draft a guy who could take his job sooner rather than later. So after the first round and maybe the top part of the second round clears out and he and they have a sense of who still needs quarterback, then you might see him on the move. And there's a couple of veterans here that you see that could be trade targets for various reasons, whether it's age, contract situations. Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals, he's another one. If the Bengals were to land an edge rusher in the first round, right, then maybe that makes it more likely that they grant Trey Hendrickson's trade request. They still haven't been able to come to a contract extension with him. So these are trades that you could see unfold as the draft progresses throughout the weekend.
That is Dan Graziano hitting on a couple possible money moves during the NFL draft that starts this Thursday. Dan.
One of the great skiers of all time. It's Bodie Miller. Or Dan Orlovsky, one of the other ESPN NFL analysts. All right, we have to start with skiing.
Obviously.
Walk us through this. You went skiing for the first time, Dan. Go ahead. Floor is yours.
Could not have imagined being as good as I was at it. Everyone was like, skiing so hard. It's impossible to learn as an adult. I would respectfully disagree. I don't think it's as hard as people make it out to be. Now, the people who are good at it, I'm like, yo, you're unbelievable at it. And I was not at the level of many of the adults out there, but I had a blast. My kids fell in love with it. I fell in love with it. The people that were, we got lessons for 2 days. The people that helped us with the lessons were absolutely insane. But I loved it. I'm now a skier, essentially. I might go to Italy for 2026 to the Olympics.
Wait, you're calling yourself a skier? Can you do that after one time out?
Sure, of course you can.
I don't know. When you get as good as I did in 72 hours, yes.
Oh, my God.
Well, Dan, what type of runs were you going on? Greens, blues, black diamonds? Yeah. Where are you working?
And Michelle, great question. We were in Idaho, and so most of their mountain green trails, all their green trails out there were closed. So they makeshifted stuff for us early on Wednesday for our lessons and part of the morning on Thursday, and then we had to go do blue trails. So, and everyone says blue out there is like almost black on the East Coast. So at least that's not my words, everyone else says. So we were doing blue trails out in Idaho.
Dan, last thing on skiing from me here, talking with professional skier Dan Orlovsky. Hypothetically, if they're doing a skiing draft. You don't have a lot of tape, right? Like you're one of these guys, small school guys. Like we saw a couple of rounds
top 10
here.
Pick.
You're a top 10 pick?
Top 10.
Absolutely. One on like what we know, two on the potential. Like I'll give it to you this way. The family that I went with, the dad's name is Isaac Sines. So they're from the West Coast. They have a place out in Sun Valley. We went with them as one of the families. He's an elite skier. He went top to bottom in like 3 minutes. It's 3,000, I think, feet elevation, 3 minutes. We had a race at the end of the day of me versus him. I had a 14-minute lead, and I blew his doors off. So, let's just put it that way.
Top 10 pick. Top 10 pick. All right, let's transition then, to the NFL. Draft is this week. Dan, we just went through Adam Schefter's story that he posted today and said there's one general manager that he knows of in the league that does not have one first-round grade on any quarterback. Your reaction to that?
Yeah, I could see that. This quarterback class is not can't miss. This quarterback class is not what it was last year. These quarterbacks don't have as many uncoachable traits or skills, while also have a little bit more flaw than some of the classes that we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years. So I've said this. I don't feel any way about anyone in this class that I do about Jayden Daniels, like I did last year. I don't think Cam Ward is that far off, but Cam's also 6'2", so I can understand that.
Dan, the most widely discussed and debated prospect in this class is Shedeur Sanders. From your eyes, from a quarterback's eyes, what do you see from Shedeur, and do you think it's going to translate at the NFL level?
So I've said this. Shedeur's the hardest evaluation I've had at that position since I got into TV. I think Shedeur does a lot of things that you win with at the quarterback spot in the NFL. He's smart. He plays on time and in rhythm. He's really accurate with the football. So there's a lot of stuff that you sit there and go, you draft win because. Like, you just got these skills and these traits that we will win because of those. And so I think in the right place at the right time with the right people, yes, Shedeur can be a good win-with quarterback in the NFL.
It is Unsportsmanlike here on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance, along with Michelle Smallman, Evan Cohen, CC back with us tomorrow. Dan Orlovsky, ESPN NFL analyst, top 10 pick in the skiing draft per Dan. Dan, I want to ask you a question you asked your audience on Twitter. What's worse / more detrimental, drafting a QB too early and missing, or paying a free agent QB too much and missing? And, oh, by the way, could the Steelers actually do both this year?
This is something that I've started to think about more and more. This is something that I think that we've got to change the way we look at it and talk about it when it comes to the quarterback spot in the NFL. Because of the way the salaries are, I really don't think that taking a quarterback early on and whiffing on him is a disaster. I just don't anymore. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, disaster, because it costed you so much money. When I think it was the Sam Bradford era, the Matthew Stafford era, if you drafted those guys early and missed, it was like a 30-year cap almost. It's not that way anymore. And we've got some examples of it. Like the San Francisco 49ers have gone to this NFC title game, it feels like 5 years in a row. No one